It's 10 past 7. 10 past 7 last week by this time. Official voting has ended, and reports were coming in already of some places counting, but other places actually, people were asked to go home and return the next day to vote again. That was how interesting it was when we went to the polls to vote. It'd been 20 years of voting democratically, electing our representatives, our presidents, our members of parliament, etc. But something very interesting has happened since Friday. Yes, we went to the polls for the second time the next day on January 8th. But then when it was all said and done, one party says they will not accept the results. They have their reasons. They claim they have the evidence. Tonight we'll ask if the evidence they have is indeed that credible. They want to go to the Supreme Court to challenge the results. One party was declared the winner, the National Democratic Congress. They won not only the presidential race, but the parliamentary race, by a country mile, some may suggest. Sunday evening, around 10 p.m., something unique again happened. Dr. Kojo Afari-Gyan declared President John Dramani Mahama the victor. And it sparked a week of disturbances in some parts of the country, especially in Accra, where supporters of the NPP said they basically will not understand how this has happened. They declared that they will pitch camp at Circle, calling it the Tahrir Square of Accra. And they pitched camp for 3 or 2 days. Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo spoke to them, asking them to go home because the party will fight this in court. Some were injured in the process. Then yesterday, I'm sure you heard, the case at the Central Business District. The two parties again clashed. We'll be looking at all these today on Joint Caucus. Welcome. My name is Evans Mensah. Now, with me to look at the key issues are Mr. Abraham Amaliba, who is a member of the NDC's legal team, and Richard Nyama, who is a member of the NPP communications team. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Pretty unprecedented occurrences over the past 1 week in our democratic process. I want to start with you, Mr. Nyama. You say you're going to the Supreme Court with your allegations of rigging, and that some of the figures that we heard announced by the EC were cooked up, and some of them, you know, too many figures were added to John Mahama that he didn't deserve. Some figures were taken from the Nado that indeed he deserved. How credible is the evidence that you have?
Thank you very much. And let me say a good evening to all your viewers, and congratulate organizers for the way and manner in which we conducted ourselves as a people, and generally the fact that the elections was very peaceful. It is very few in many an African country that you would have a very smooth elections over and over again. This is the safe time. And to be frank with you, not many African countries have been able to do what we've done. So let's at least pat ourselves on the back for that. What happened on that day, you know what? Today I'm not going to bother going into numbers because the party structure has resolved that we'll fight our case in court. We're not going to do yes and fighting in the court of public opinion, because even before we've gone to court, the intimidations and attempts to stop us or tamper with the evidence we're trying to put together in itself is overwhelming.
Okay, I wanted to hold that thought just for a minute for me, because I want to take a short break. We'll come back, because this is a pretty interesting discussion we're going to have today. We'll get the legal take of Mr. Amaliba on the issues about what the NPP can do and cannot do under our laws. And I will get the common sense approach from Mr. Nyama, who will look at it purely from a political standpoint. But here on Joint Caucus, we are proudly partisan. On Joint Caucus. My name is Evans Mensah, with me looking at the issues as far as elections are concerned, and all the other issues that have been triggered by the elections are Richard Nyama is a communications team member of the NPP, and also Mr. Abraham Amaliba, who is a member of the NDC legal team. Indeed, Mr. Nyama was on the floor talking about his posture towards this discussion, because he believes he's not going to get into the figures.
Yes, I was not going to get into the figures, but my approach is not going to be more common sense than realist. I guess Mr. Amaliba will come in with the legalese, but even that will be his opinion until we put the evidence before the court and the processes start. Then people will get to know what we have up our sleeves. Right now, we're not ready to give up our game, because even before we've gone there are attempts to stop us.
The point that some have said that you have no game to bring.
All right, we have no game to give if we do not show up in court.
Because on Sunday, when you started making allegation, you made allegation, people thought, okay, then you have the evidence. Only for us to hear on Monday that you actually don't even have anything. You're now beginning to collate and put issues together. You said by Friday, I'm quoting your own communications director, you will tell us what your evidence is.
Yes.
We've not heard anything.
Yes, we have not gotten there because the evidence is enormous, it's gargantuan. And collating 26,000 polling stations is no joke, it's no mean feat. And we did not see the proportions by which these elections were rigged until we started going into the numbers. But we'll get there. What got us to this point? We started the elections smoothly across the country, but from the word go, there was a hitch. Electoral materials, I voted in my constituency, precisely in my village, Jambwai, in the Pandai constituency. What happened? As at 10 a.m., I was still sat down there waiting for electoral materials to come. That place, fortunately or unfortunately, is a major center where electoral materials are deployed or kept overnight and deployed to the other areas. As at 10 a.m., we didn't have it. So some areas within our village had the materials as late as 12, midday. So already you have issues coming into it, because when people get tired and begin to slack, that is when you create the opportunity for rigging to take place. Because if I go to sleep, it will happen. And there are
but why would you go to sleep?
Please, because
even though the stakes are that high, you have an interest.
is such that I am not clocked for 24 hours.
The NDC is human. They also had human monitors.
Yes, so that they could do it on shifts. You didn't have that in mind, so you did not have a shift system in place.
I see. This is huge speculation you're putting out there.
But going forward, I'm looking at even the starting of the process being flawed. So that for the first time in our electoral history, we had to postpone some constituency polling stations to the next day. We did the voting over 48 hours, more or less. It started 7 a.m. Friday, it ended 5 p.m. Saturday. That's a long period to have an election. But that beside, when the results start trickling in, then discrepancies start appearing. But in the processes, you realize that there is a semblance of some connivance to do you in. Now, your very media house was here doing virtually a piecemeal putting out of the results. In the middle of it, or towards the end of it, what happens is that your analysts, your experts somehow end up doing a declaration for a particular party.
Not a declaration. We projected that John Mahama will win the election.
Let me show you.
It's a projection.
Yes. When I finish, you will see why I call it a declaration.
It's not. No matter how you call it, it can be a declaration.
I do not expect you to say
It's only the EC that can declare elections.
No, I know.
The electoral
what
laws are clear
happens
on
is this. At the time you guys were projecting President Mahama to win it by all means, because if you look at the figures in and the figures yet to come, there was no way Nana could. In actual fact, if you went to the EC website at the same time, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo was leading the election.
Yeah, but that the
And
EC
you see,
it's not Joy FM.
That
or
is my point.
multimedia. Multimedia can
Meanwhile,
never be
your
the
source
EC.
was supposed to be the EC.
No, but the EC has collation centers in the 275 constituencies.
Yes.
And once the elections are declared at the collation center, they are certified. Then it goes to the Electoral Commission headquarters.
Yes.
Now, we get it faster. And the EC...
From who?
From the same collation center.
Yeah.
Now, hold on. The EC at the strong room,
Yes.
when the results come from the collation center, it has to make sure that all the parties represented there checks the figures, calls back before they endorses it. It goes to Afarajan. That process is long. We don't go through that process.
But that is where your process is flawed.
But we
because
called,
Evans,
we called that
Evans.
election for John Mahama. We projected he was going to win. He won.
And that is where I am
Well, where
coming
is the
to. You know
inaccuracy in
what?
that?
The inaccuracy is in the fact that when at the point that you were declaring him winner,
We didn't declare him winner.
okay,
We
you were
projected that he would
projecting-
win.
All right,
And he
going
won.
By,
and he won.
Going by
It's a projection.
your words, you were projecting him as the winner. At the same time, the EC had Nana Akufo-Addo leading. When we brought it to their attention that there is a disparity between what you guys were putting out and what they were putting out, the EC website went down. I'm not sure, I don't know if you guys were informed. But when it came up, somehow they were apart with you. So naturally sitting back there and seeing what was going on, when I complained that there is a disparity between the strong room and the EC and what multimedia was putting out, all of a sudden, the EC website goes down. It comes up some 1, 2, 3 hours later, and everything is okay, and multi-TV comes back that, we've been vindicated. The EC has agreed with what with
Are you
us.
talking about collusion between...
I'm not saying that.
multimedia?
Evans, you are saying it.
I'm asking because I don't see where you're going with this, really.
You're saying it. No, I'm not. But what I'm saying is this. The grounds was prepared with all this declaration or projection seemingly by your media house. Mind you.
But we've always called elections.
Yes, you've always called.
In 2000,
you know what?
We called for John
You know
Kufuor,
what?
he won. In 2004,
You know
we
what?
did say he won.
You know what?
In 2008, we called
Evans,
that
Evans,
your candidate will lose, and he
Evans.
lost.
You do not go to the point where you tell us that, look, looking at all odds, there is no way this person is going to win. And then systems begin to break down, and then when the systems come up, they tally with your results. I naturally would have to believe or suspect something fishy. But that aside, if at the end of the day, the EC asks you, if you're complaining, please give me some leads, give me some semblance of evidence to start some investigation into this. And this was what happened. They asked that, look, if you have cause to believe that this election was rigged, please give us some evidence to at least start the process of investigation. So that was provided. I think about 5 blue sheets covering some 5 constituencies were given to them. Obviously not covering everything, but on the spur of the moment, you wanted something to give you room to do the investigation. So we gave you that. What happens? Negotiations go on behind closed doors. When the EC emerges, it's like, look, we have heard them. They have put their evidence before us, and it's not enough to swing the elections in their favor, and so we are going ahead to declare.
You think that was
Look,
wrong?
You were misinforming the public. What discussions we had behind the scene was not that do not declare the results because we have gathered all the evidence. What you gave us was that bring some evidence and I will start the process of investigation. So please, you can assure us that the EC as a body has heard what the MPP said, what they've brought. We've taken it in good faith. We are looking at it. But based on what we have received so far, we think that it is okay to go ahead and declare.
I think that's what they did. That's what Dr. Farijan did.
Farijan indicated that on the balance of probability, the NPP could not possibly win the elections based on the evidence they had brought against the NDC on the allegations of rigging. And I'm saying that was not the conversation that took place behind the scenes.
Let me bring in your colleague from the NDC now, Mr. Abraham Amaliba. Was that a legally sound position to take? Wasn't the Afarijan opening himself up to a lot of legal challenges here? Because I recall what the point he made, and the law covers that, is he's the only person entitled to call the elections, declare the results. And he cannot wait for, he's not obliged, if he may, wait for anybody to bring the evidence. Indeed, the process says, after the declaration of the result, there's a certain period within which you can go to court. Some suggest that that was an appropriate legal position to take. Some also suggest that, well, if there was a prima facie case even at that moment before the declaration of the results, maybe he should have waited a bit longer.
Afarijan's, let me say good evening to our viewers. Afarijan was right on point. He is the only one under the Constitution to declare elections. He only declares election when he receives all the constituencies and all the information from the constituencies. At that point, he had received all the information. The question now is, why should he wait? Because he only declares when he receives all the information. So the question to ask is, at that point, did we have a constituency left that he did not receive and went ahead to declare? No. What we know and we still know is that he had received all the information, all the numbers from all the constituencies. So then, at that point, it was right for him to declare.
When they had met and they had raised the possibility of huge discrepancies in the figures,
the law does not say that after receiving all the information from the constituencies as an electoral commissioner, you are to allow, or you are to give opportunity to a political party that thinks that there are discrepancies for you to address them before you announce. No. The electoral commissioner does not act on the whims and caprices of any political party. And indeed, the Constitution says that the political party, the EC is not under the control of any political party, not an individual, not a group of people. So indeed, what the MPP were seeking to do was to try to circumvent the law by asking him to hold on. That would have meant that he was deferring his responsibility to what the MPP was asking him to do. And that is wrong, because that will amount to MPP instructing the EC to do its bidding. So for me, the EC was right by going ahead to declare the results. Now on the issue of the discrepancy, why? We have been in this country, we heard the MPP say that, and say to their followers, that when you vote, stay there until the elections are declared. We say that when you vote, go home and come back and witness the elections, the counting. Now, between these two groups of people, who should be crying that there has been rigging? You who ask your people after voting they should stay there. You are now asking that there is rigging. Indeed, this election is one of the most fairest elections. Indeed, for the first time. Why? For the first time, there was biometric registration.
When people were disenfranchised because...
No, I'll come there. I'll come there. For the first time, we have biometric registration, which took away multiple registration. That's a fact. And nobody can deny this.
It's also a fact that we still had minors on the roll.
But indeed, when
we registered
to
vote.
But yes.
And some of them might have voted.
Yes, but again, the fact that there was somebody's name on the register is prima facie evidence that that person is qualified to vote. So you and me and him can't sit here and say they were minors. They were not minors.
I'm sorry, but that's the words. Those are the words of Dr. Farijan himself. Before the elections declared, and actually showed us pictures of those he suspected. You
don't use pictures to determine who a minor is. The register is prima facie evidence that those on the list are prepared to vote, are ready to vote, and are qualified to vote. That's why the Supreme Court judge said that you have no right to prevent anybody physically. So, and for the first time, we had a biometric verification machine, which would verify and validate you to register, to vote. Now, on what basis would somebody begin to say that they were rigging in favor of the ruling party? You see, he's not dropping figures. He's not dropping figures because reality has done. Reality has come to play. They were banditing some figures around. Now the figures when we checked their figures and what they said was credited to His Excellency John Mahama, it's false because when you go to the EC's website, those figures that we had from our blue sheets were what was credited to President John Mahama. So reality has done in, and that's why they are not banditing figures again. I think that under the laws, Article 64, there's a provision for challenging the validity of the election of the president. If they are aggrieved, as they have intended, they should go to court and challenge the results. But I find it difficult to comprehend why they go about vandalizing, attacking you journalists, and trying to make the country ungovernable. I don't think that is what true Democrats should do. It does not fall in line with their credentials as they want to tout that they are Democrats. I think that we as a people have made a choice. And for now, I would have expected Nana Akufo-Addo to do what President Mills late did when in 2000 he considered defeat and congratulated John Kufuor. In 2004, even though we had issues, when the results were declared, we still congratulated President Kufuor, but allowed our people to go to court. I expected them to do that, to respect institutions. A state institution such as EC should not be undermined. If you have challenges, you go to court, but you do not act in ways that seek to undermine the integrity of the electoral process.
He says he's going to go to court, exactly what he's done.
Yes.
And asks his supporters to basically follow their lead and go home. He will not accept the results and therefore cannot congratulate the man he believes is a beneficiary of an illegality.
I'm saying that in 2004, President Mills lost, but we had issues with the elections. Indeed, you remember the popular saying that Ochati, that people were agitating and you, Professor Mills, you were sitting down and drinking tea. Professor Mills, as it were, congratulated President Kufuor, but nonetheless allowed his people, Roger Nunu and co, to go to court. When you do that, what do? You aim at soothing and reducing the tension in the country. That is what they have failed to do. By calling people to go out there and, as it were, saying that it is an equivalent of Tahrir Square in Egypt, it's inciting people to undertake acts that are detrimental to the health of the country. I think that the MPP has a lot of damage control to do when all these matters settle. I think that they are, by their own actions, alienating themselves and ensuring that the good people of Ghana will never look at their side again.
Let me bring in Richard Nyama. He makes a point that why don't you simply say, well, congratulations, and you won the elections. However, I am still going to pursue this matter, and that probably will pour a lot of cold water on the heat that we have.
Thank you, Evans. But you know what? Just on a lighter note, Ochati refers to your party in the first handing.
No, that wasn't it. That wasn't it.
In 2000.
That wasn't it. That wasn't it. No, that wasn't it. Wallace was alleged to have been accusing Professor Mills to go out there.
The whole word of Ochati had its real meaning when your transition team spent several.
I see what you mean now.
Yes.
That's by the way.
That's on the lighter side. But you know what? My brother is assuming that Professor Mills should be the yardstick of measurement across board. Please, he's not. What happened in 2000 and 2004 is not the same that happened now. The NDC went to court in 2004 after the 2004 elections. They failed to adduce any evidence.
But at least they went through the process.
Yes, going through the process for the sake of it. When you put out allegations...
At this stage, we don't even know if
that
yours
is the point.
also stand the test of time.
Nobody should want to inflict on us the fact that Professor Mills did it and so we should do it. You don't know what we have up our sleeves. If Professor Mills had nothing up his sleeves and claimed and was not able to prove his case in court, it's not the same for MPP. I'm saying that we have enormous evidence. And the NDC and the public or government institutions have been trying to stop us putting that together. Now, first thing, I was part of the research team that was putting the evidence together when we were raided in Rambo style by a combined military and police force. Now, at least the police force has not denied the incident. But what I know is that the IGP and the police commander, the army commander that night, when they were called, denied any knowledge of the incident. Is it not ironical that MPP puts their students, research groups together to look into the numbers, look at the 26,000 polling stations, and let the numbers add up? We start the process, and somehow at night we have over 20 police and military vehicles come in. They all well armed. My brother, they asked us to lie flat on our faces. Seeing me, if you had seen me that day, they shock on me, and the fact that it took me about an hour to compose myself.
We heard the police subsequently say that they were acting on a tip-off. They went there thinking that something else was there. It wasn't there, and they left.
You know what?
It happens.
Yes, but the processes that went into that. You come raiding my property. If nothing at all, you require to have a warrant.
No, that is not it.
Please.
No.
Please. It is your opinion.
No.
If there is any listen, you know why they activated that issue of arms? You know where the property is located? This is the Burkina Faso embassy. The property is next to it. With all the security system the Burkina Faso embassy has, you think 20 macho men will come and pack a container full of arms and start unloading it into such a property without any suspicion or thinking that they'll get caught in the act? And mind you, it is very close to the MPP headquarters. I'm telling you that this was an afterthought. And you know what? Why I'm saying that? The very next day, the Deputy Minister of Information, Okudzeto Ablakwa, puts out that the president had declared a state of red alert. What are the processes? My brother, you are a lawyer. What are the processes that go into declaring a state of red alert? What are the ingredients required to do that?
Red alert? I didn't hear anything like that.
Oh, you didn't?
I didn't.
No. It was on your website. Go on to my Joy Online.
Really, there's nothing like red alert in the scheme of things as far as the Constitution is concerned. So
I am very happy even you saying this. So I'm on the same page with you.
I am not saying that happened because I didn't hear it. I didn't read it.
And I'm saying that I read it on your website, my Joy Online.
What would red alert mean?
Red alert,
sounds
that
highly
the state,
improbable
yes,
to me.
that the state was in a state of red alert, and that all the security agencies were armed to the teeth and ready to act.
Yes,
and
there have always been red alert.
Always, I remember because Professor Mills.
The president, look.
Oh, please, Abraham, let's be decorous. Professor Mills declared it, I think, in 2011 in Parliament.
Declared what?
A state of red alert and never undeclared it in Parliament.
There's nothing like red alert.
Oh, please.
As far as the Constitution is concerned, there's nothing like red alert. It's a state of emergency.
Oh.
You mean?
That was the word that was used, red alert.
I have
in a state where
I have done journalism for more than a decade. I have seriously not heard anybody declare red alert.
And you did not hear the president of the Republic of Ghana, Professor Mills, do that when he was delivering his State of the Nation address to Parliament. Alert. You never heard it. All right, let's leave it at that. But at least viewers would testify. On Joy FM, I think either Tuesday or Wednesday, that was on your website, and I read it, that this was it. The minister, Deputy Minister of Interior actually goes to confirm it, that they would deal with us, the opposition.
Yeah, but the point he was making, this is what he said. He said he
referred specifically to the MPP.
He said
that word was used.
The MPP leaders
should
not assume that they will not be held responsible. And he gave an example.
They will be dealt with.
Yeah, in essence, not those exact words. But he made the point that Laurent Gbagbo, for example, was not on the street himself, But when the issue happened and people died, they came for him.
Yes.
Because his utterance, his actions and inactions had contributed to what has happened, and therefore the NPP leadership should not assume that it will not be held
you see,
responsible.
there were a sequence of events, and what I'm saying is this: the police hierarchy had no knowledge of what happened. At least I was present when the chairman of my party called, Jacob Lamte called both of them, and they denied any knowledge and asked for names of the leadership that came and car numbers, and we gave that out. Only for the police administration the next day to tell us that they had information that we were stockpiling arms in there.
Let me ask you a question.
What?
What will Nana lose if he concedes defeat now and says, well, my team is still pursuing this matter in court? Would he lose anything?
Why should he concede defeat when he has not lost?
If
I may ask you. I'm saying that we are going to adduce evidence in a competent court of jurisdiction in this country that the elections were rigged in favor of the sitting president.
Okay.
And so we should be allowed that.
I want to take a short break,
Yes.
and then when I come, I'll start with Mr. Abraham Maliba, because I know he wants to say a lot as far as what you said is concerned. We'll look at the back and forth as far as the supporters of the NPP is concerned. Yesterday we had a case of the NDC supporters as well, wanting to retaliate. It took the intervention of the police at the party headquarters, of all places, where people had masked with machetes, etc., to stop them from going to attack the NPP headquarters. That is something we'll be looking at when we return. This is Joint Caucus.